Hi friends, my name is Megan and welcome to my 63rd Flosstube episode. If you are new here, welcome. This is a channel that's mostly about cross stitch. However, I do share my other hobbies here when I have worked on them. And if you're returning, thank you so much for coming back and spending time with me today. I appreciate all of you even more than you know. Today is Thursday, not Tuesday, Thursday, July the 10th. And it is another hot and muggy day here in Maryland. The weather has been pretty terrible. It's been like real feel over 100 most of the time, and the humidity has been super high, and we've had very severe thunderstorms coming through almost every night. So it's been a little wild out there. That being said, I did turn the fans off because that background noise is just really disruptive, I think. So I'm going to try to zip through this even though I've got a lot to show, just so I can get the air circulating again. I hope everybody had a great June. June was very busy for me. I had a lot going on at work. My schedule changed for the summer, and it's just, you know, that's not always an easy transition for me. But I made it through, and I definitely stitched a lot in June. I have a lot to share. What else? We did just get back from a little trip up to the Catskills in New York. We went up there for the 4th of July like we did last year. My husband's best friend, who's also named Aaron, has a house up there, and so we went and spent a few days up there with him, and we traveled all around. Maybe I'll pop in a couple pictures here. We went and saw several waterfalls. Drove around and looked at the mountains. It's like that's my happiest place on earth is in the Catskills. We went and saw an amazing lighthouse. We went to a couple of breweries. We relaxed. I rode on a four-wheeler for the first time. I don't think that's for me. But we rode out to this ridge, and we were able to see the fireworks like for miles and miles, which was unbelievable. So that was a really wonderful trip. I did bring a lot of stitching up there with me, and I did work on several projects. What I decided to do, because we already are 10 days into July, I just brought things that I worked on in June. If it's something I only worked on in July, I'll save that for my next update at the end of this month. So everybody here is doing pretty well. We're all getting through this summertime. Aaron and the dog are upstairs taking a nap right now. Aaron normally would still be at work, but he and his boss had a job at Camden Yards this morning. They had to be there super early. He had to leave here at like 4:15 this morning for that. So he got off really early, and he is napping. Cora's napping. The cats are all around. I just bribed them with some treats. Tarzan was trying to just be all over everything. So everybody's been bribed, but he's still hovering around back there. We'll see how that goes. You know, there's always some sort of animal drama, I feel like. Yeah, so Quentin's at work right now. Him and his girlfriend will be over later tonight for dinner, and I can't wait to see them. Actually, I'd never driven in a car with Quentin before until this past week. On Tuesday, he took me to a doctor's appointment, and he did such a great job. I know he's like an adult or whatever now, but I don't know. It was just proud of my kid. So anyways, like I said, I've got a lot of things to share with you. I have fully finished objects. I've got new starts, finishes, works in progress. I've got just a few things that came in the mail. I feel like I've been shopping my emotions kind of a lot recently, but it just hasn't all been with cross stitch stuff. And at the very end, I'm going to show you a little thrift find that I have. So let's get started. Like I said, I've got some fully finished objects to share with you, and I actually turned my light off for this first one because this frame has glass in it. I'm still going to get a little bit of glare, but we'll do the best we can. So this is Boo Sheet. I had finished this in my last video. This is by Curio Cabinet Crafts on Etsy, and this, you know, I struggled with this pattern, but I'm super happy with this finish. I think it turned out great. This frame here was from Michael's, I believe, and it was gold, and Aaron spray painted it. It's actually not black, it's like a dark brown. It might be reading a little black in this on the camera here, but I thought that was just perfect, and I love this one. He's so cute. You know, for all the complaining I did, he was totally worth it. This next project here I finished, I think last summer. This is by the Witchy Stitcher, and this is called Summer Sucks. And that is exactly how I feel. Let's see. So this was stitched on, I think, just some 18 count black Aida. And this frame was from the dollar store, and we had some like blue, this is a blue stain. And I feel like that fits perfectly. I think the original says Summer Sucks at the bottom, but I didn't do that part. I'm really happy with how this turned out, and this one is gonna go live at my desk at work. This next project I showed in my last video. I did a little primitive needle parade to celebrate the return of those lovely patterns, and I shared that I had gotten a frame for one of them, again at Michael's. This was like in their oops section. Gosh, there's even more cat hair I think than normal. I feel like the past few episodes I've been like, oh my gosh, everybody's shedding, but everybody is shedding again. I think the humidity is just, it's wild here. Anyways, so this frame came from Michael's. This was in their oops section, and I thought it was just perfect for this project. This is Hoodoo Voodoo by the Primitive Needle. This was like an anniversary stitch for Erin and I. And I just think this frame is perfect. As always, I just feel like this camera never fully captures the vibrancy of some of these colors. This fabric is, I think, called something primitive, perfectly primitive or purely primitive, I can't remember, but it's almost like an orange and green color, which I just don't think is coming across great, but super happy to have that one to hang up. So this next one I have to share with you is a little freebie that I charted. I had this cute little bookmark. I hesitate to call it an antique because I don't know that it is. It's on perforated paper. Sorry, the cat sees something out the window. Anyways, so it's on this perforated paper. It's got ribbon on the back here. But this lives upstairs in my stitching room, and I was just looking at it, and I just, you know, sometimes you just need to feel a little bit of hope. So I decided that I was going to stitch it and I was going to share it with all of you. So I did. I put this up as a free pattern on my Ko-fi or Ko-fi or coffee or whatever you would like to call it. This will be linked below, and it's just called Hope. And I stitched it two ways. I stitched it on some linen and also on some perforated paper. This finish is missing. I don't know where in the world that it went. That's not something I would typically misplace. I don't know where it is. I looked for it again. I thought maybe I tucked it somewhere safe, but so I don't have that to share with you today. Actually, I was looking for it because I put a piece of felt on the back of it, but I bought some ribbon so I could make it more like the original, because that's the perforated paper piece. But I do have this one here to share with you. Here is this one. I am like obsessed with this finish. It looks so vintage, we'll say. I stitched this one on a piece of 32 count Days Gone By. It's a silk weaver fabric, which I'm not sure that you can get anymore. And I used one strand of Sulky. Hopefully this will focus for us. Sulky in the color 1283. No, maybe. There we go. And I knew that I wanted to hem stitch it, but when I cut the piece of fabric that I was working on, I did not cut it big enough. I'd only ever hem stitched one project before, and I'll put the tutorial I used down below. And so I did not give myself enough margin to do it properly. So it's a little primitive, we'll call it. Anyways, so I took this frame, I took a piece of foam core for the back of it, and I covered that in velvet, and I just pinned this little piece onto it, and I am obsessed with this finish. I love it so much. I'm hopefully going to finish more things, maybe with a little bit of a better job with the hem stitch, but in a similar style to this. This was pretty easy and pretty fast, and I just love it. So if you would like to stitch a Little Hope, I'll make sure that that is linked for you guys down below. Alright, let me reset a little bit and I will pull over this pile to get into. Alright, so here is my book of days. And in the month of June, I was pretty busy. Here's my month. As you can see, I worked on, there's a lot of days where I worked on a lot of different projects. Sometimes the busier I am, the less I stitch, and sometimes the busier I am, the more I stitch. I think it's like a feeling of control type situation. But yeah, June had a lot of stitching in it. In the month of June, I had 8 new starts and 10 finishes. And then I went through and I looked at kind of my mid-year stats. I know a lot of people are doing their mid-year whip parades right now, which I am loving. I'm like hibernating in the bedroom where there's air conditioning and watching whip parades and stitching, and that has been wonderful. So let's see, for me, for the so far this year, I came into 2025 with 52 works in progress. I have since finished 17 of them, and I've worked on all of them except for 11. So my only goal for the year was to work on all of my works in progress. That's always my only goal, is to work on, touch all of them, even if it's just a little bit. So I only have 11 left to work on, and I'll get through some of those this month. And then once I've kind of touched everybody, I don't know what I'll do next. I've really been trying to get some of them done, so I can make some room for new projects. I don't know, we'll see. And then for the year, I've had 28 new starts in total and 36 finishes. So feeling pretty darn good about all of that. And let's see, the first project I have here to share with you is actually a finish. This is something that I stitched for the Strawberry Moon Sal, which is hosted by Marjorie Maid. I'll make sure that she's linked below. She just put out like a little crafty vlog type thing. I love a vlog style video, and it was really enjoyable. So I'll make sure that she is linked below. I wanted to participate in this last year, and I just didn't have my crap together to do so. This year I did though. I stitched the mini strawberry possum. This is by XG Design. This is clearly not by XG Design. This is by Mama Witch X Stitch. How cute is that? And if you want to see another really cute finish of this, Jessie from Cat Hair Stitchers, she took elements of this and put it on a little dress. Oh my gosh, it's so cute. I will also link them below. I watched them yesterday. They are always a huge delight. I might have to insert a picture of what that cat just did. He came up here and just laid down on all of my stuff and tried to eat the cord for the camera. So I guess bribing with treats did not work. Anyways, Cat Hair Stitchers, always a delight. Love their videos. They always just fill me with joy and make me laugh. I watched their latest one yesterday. I've been terrible about commenting, but I'm out there watching and loving. So anyways, mini strawberry possum, Mama Witch X Stitch. Sorry, that cat just like kind of threw me off here. Looked like this. This project never made it into a project bag because it took about a day to stitch up. It just lived in this little project mat that I have here. I stitched it on, with all of the called for DMCs, which are a little bit of a mess, and I stitched it on a piece of 40 count mystery blue linen from my stash. And here is my finish. Let's hope that will focus. I don't know what's going on with the camera. She's having a hard time. There we go. Yeah, so that was adorable and super quick, and I had this little frame back in my stash, probably again from Michael's or Joanne. This one might have been from Joanne. And I got it finished up, and it lives on my dining room table now. So look how sweet that is. Love it. Love, love, love it. These are kind of in the order that I worked on them throughout the month. to the best that I could. The next project I have to share is a project that I started last year on Halloween. Our wedding anniversary is on Halloween, so I try to do like a anniversary type stitch start on those days. This is Mon Cher by Witch's Garden Crafts. This is a free pattern in her Facebook group. She also has the companion piece here. I would like to do both of them. This project lives in this bag that I made, which doesn't really go with the theme, but that's okay. I'm stitching it with, this is a black Moselle silk, which looks nice and organized here. You'll see it again later in not such an organized fashion. This was a gift from a friend. And I'm stitching it on a piece of 38 count Delarna, also from Silk Weaver. I don't remember the color. I got this at a New Jersey retreat several years ago. I don't think that Silk Weaver is even called Silk Weaver anymore, and I don't believe they're in the same store either. Anyways, this is where I got to. This I had some serious counting errors in the border, and so I just continued to work on that until I was able to fix or fudge all of it, and I think I am back on track now. This will be pretty quick to stitch up when I pull it back out again, maybe in October. And then I've got plenty of room. There's something on here. Down here for the second one, and then this was a failed start of Ellen Harrison on that side. But I feel good. I knew that when I put it away there was some errors in it, so knowing that now it'll be on the right track makes me feel a lot better. All right, the next project I have here was also a previous work in progress. This is Autumn Song Sewing Box and Needle Keep by Blackbird. Looks like this. So the idea is that you make a box, and that is the top of the box, and then there's also a chart on the inside for this alphabet band and for this little needle pincushion. Gracious. So it looks like that. This project lived, there's strings everywhere, I don't know what's happening, in this cute little squirrel bag, vinyl front squirrel bag. I used all of the called for flosses for that. This was stitched on a piece of 28 count Country French Spring Meadow Green. I wish I knew where this fabric came from because I absolutely love it. And here is my finish. So this is the top of the box. I did not enjoy stitching these leaves. I don't know what my problem was. I could not ever get into a good rhythm with them. They just were kind of a pain for me, and so I decided once this was done that I was going to call this project done. I don't know that I was ever going to turn it into this box, and if I decide to do that in the future, I obviously still have the pattern. I could do the rest of the pieces. This little needle bulk looked pretty quick, but I was over it, so that's okay. I've got plenty of fabric. I've got it all marked out if I ever want to do those other two parts, and yeah, I'll just consider those separate projects from this. So I'm calling this one done. I actually have, my aunt gave me two antique oval frames, and I might see if this will fit into one of them. That would be really, really pretty. This next project here is also an older WIP. This is from 2022. And this was one that I had trouble getting into, but I think I finally cracked the code on this one, and I'm making some really good progress. So this is Modern Folk Embroideries Move Forward in Love. This was their Pride Stitch Along for 2022. Which looks like this. There is an alternate center option without the Progress Pride flag in it, and I think there's some people do it in monochrome as well. monochromatic. And this one I just had trouble with because there's so many color changes, and I do really enjoy color completing, and I just could not wrap my head around doing that to this project. So let me show you where I am, and then I'll talk about what I did. This project lives in this bag that I made, this little rainbow bag. I'm stitching it on a piece of Fortnite fabrics in a 36 count called Sea of Fog. And I'm using all of the called for DMC. Again, it's all a mess. It's always a mess. And I have my needle in it still. Here's where I am. So I always like pop in a little before picture before I show my project, so you can see I got a lot done on this project. So I worked on it for like about a week, and then I decided that I did not want this to hang around for a whole nother year, and so I've been working on it 30 minutes a day ever since, and I should finish it in the month of July. I might save this fill-in for Midsummer Stitch. If I remember, I will talk a little bit about that later. But as you can see, making some good progress. And what I ended up having to do was, I will just flash the pattern a little bit. I ended up taking each section and making it into each page and making it into a smaller section, and taking my colored pencils, which are living in this bag here, and coloring in on the chart so that I could just see the colors and where they needed to go. And I'm just doing it like little section by little section by little section, and then as I finish a thread, like I'm doing color by color, and then as I finish a thread, I put whatever's left over into the center, and it has become such a joy to stitch it that way. So I don't know, I went from a project that I was working on but not feeling super excited about to one that I'm really loving. So, and that's been really successful for me. I don't know what I'll do for my next 30 minutes a day project, but I guess I have a little bit more time to figure that out. So here's where we are, and hopefully you will see that as a finish in a few weeks. This next project is another stitch along, but this one is from this year. I finally have a cover photo to show you. This was the Court of Crows stitch along by Fine Frog Stitching. The last piece came out on July 4th, and so I did get that stitched up. This project lived in this black cat bag, and I stitched it on the called for fabric, which is Witch's Garden Crafts, in the 18 count in the color Call. I have this piece left over of that fabric. Here are the called for colors. This was another project that had a lot of color changes, but like once you kind of got used to the colors, it was like, you know, 3 purples, 3 blues, 3 yellows, so you could very easily, you wouldn't have to even look at the numbers anymore. You could very easily do the color changes. And here is my finish. So I can't remember where this was in my last update, but either way, it's done now. Yeah. So it felt good to keep up with the stitch along. I've got 2 other monthly stitch, or not monthly, I guess I've got 2 other stitch alongs that need some attention. I've got the Modern Folk Embroidery No Time Like the Present stitch along, and I've got the Book of Fungi stitch along that both need some love. So I don't know, I haven't thought too much about how I'm going to tackle those. Maybe one of those will be my 30 minutes a day. We will see. But yeah, this is all done. Another finish that I have is one that I am so excited about. I've been working on this project since 2001. And I had struggled to make any progress with it, and this year I was invited to join a stitch along for it, and that cured what ailed me. That project is the Moon Phase Bell Pull by the Tiny Modernist. I don't know why. Hang on, let me turn my light back on. Let's see if that helps a little bit. So this was the Moon Phase Bell Pull by Tiny Modernist. I don't know what my struggle was, but I was just not getting it done. And then this year, Jen from Jen's Fiber Web and Stephanie from Cross Stitch the Globe decided they were going to stitch it, and they were breaking it up into 12 parts and working on it on the full moon. I was invited to join them, and then Amy Loves Toads also has joined. Amy is stitching hers this way without the trees, and everybody's project is looking just absolutely amazing. This has been so much fun. So I'll show you my finish, and then we'll talk a little bit more about that. So that's what it looked like. This project lived in this Quilting with Nico bag that I love, love, love. It only called for 4 colors of DMC, which I used, and I stitched it on a piece of 36 count Timberwolf by Seraphim. And here is my finish. Oh, so good. I love it so much. These are the most beautiful cross-stitched moons I have ever seen, even if I grumbled a lot while stitching them. I'm super happy, and now I can cut down this fabric. Look at all, look how silly this is. Whatever. So now that mine is done, I was encouraged to pull out another work in progress and continue to work on something else with them on the full moon each month. And then Stephanie's also suggested that we pick another project for next year and just keep it going, which I think sounds great. It's been wonderful stitching along with these ladies. So I had not planned this, but I had pulled this project out, and I think this is going to work perfect for my next full moon stitch, which actually I think the full moon is today. So I'll be working on this tonight. This is Not Forgotten Farms Old Mustard Moon. Looks like this. I started this with Julie from Kansas City Girl and a Colorado World. I think 2 years ago around Thanksgiving. She had gone to the Country Sampler and saw a model of this stitched on Murky, and I had purchased it and this pattern, and so we talked about it and we both started it on Murky. This pattern I've not made great progress on because the pattern is incredibly small and hard to read. I don't think that this is available as a PDF, so what I have to do is take pictures of it and put it into GoodNotes and like blow it up as big as I can and work on it that way. But so I'm hoping with the full moon stitching this will encourage me to get some really good progress on this. I don't think I can get it done. Tarzan's back in by the end of the year, but I can certainly try. Oh, hang on. Okay. Anyways, I don't think I can get this done by the end of the year just working on it on the full moon, but I do think I can get some really good progress on it. It lives in this bag that I made out of a t-shirt by the Moon Life. They don't make t-shirts anymore, they just do concert posters. I'm stitching it in, I think this is a conversion. Well, I know some of it is a conversion. I don't know if any of these are the called for colors, but these are the colors that I chose. And like I said, we are stitching this on Murky. Mine is on a 36 count. And here is where I am. So when I worked on it this time, I filled in the moon and I brought the border around, and I don't know what. This side, the border was 10 stitches too long. When I counted this side, the border was 10 stitches too high. So I had to like figure out what in the world I had done wrong. So that ate up some time for sure. But I got the border in, the outside border in, and then I started working on these clouds over here. So I haven't really like picked out a great plan of attack yet. Maybe what I will do is work on just outlining some of the things that need to be filled in. I don't know, we'll find out tonight when I work on it, and we'll see next month. So here's where it's at. I know it's kind of on here funny, but I really wanted the moon in that later splotch right there. So next up is a little start and finish. This was a freebie from Lindsay Swearingen. She is the designer behind Tusk and Cardinal. I love lots of her stuff, and she put out this little freebie here called New Kings. I started this on June 14th, and it only took like 2 days to stitch up. Went really quickly. This is a piece of 20 count vintage country mocha that I dipped it in some tea afterwards. I want to grunge it up some more. I think I want it to look really old, and I think I'm going to try to get it on this wall right here. I'm gonna have Erin make me up a little frame. I stitched this with one strand of $37.99. Like I said, it went together really quickly. There are some other great New Kings freebies out there. If I can, I will try to link some of them below. Yeah, cute. Well, the next project I have here is a new start. This was also inspired by Jessie of Cat Hair Stitchers. This is Marsh Monster. This is what I'm lovingly calling my self-portrait. This is how I feel in the summertime, for sure. I started this to celebrate the last day of school this year. And I wanted it to be like Jessie, and she stitched hers on 20 count black Aida, so I'm doing mine on 20 count black Aida, but she used a Cosmo conversion, and I think hers turned out more blue, so I'll show you. Hang on. This project is living in this Maryland bag, and here are the DMCs, which are, I don't know, they're looking pretty blue in this light, but really they are much more teal in person. I don't know if I put some light behind it, if that'll help. Maybe you can see that a little better now that these are much more teal than blue. And I might need something behind this too. Here is a little start. Get our little face in. I started on the center page, and she only got a couple of nights worth of work. This is a little less than halfway through the first page, but I think she is looking great. I'd really like it if this camera would focus properly so you guys could see how great she looks too. Maybe I bring her in a little closer. No, just kind of blowing her out. But she is so cute, and I'm not sure what my plan of attack will be for her. I might work on her a little bit more this summer. I'm not. See if that helps. Maybe. So, there we go. She is super fun. The next project I have is another new start and a finish. I talked a little bit, I think it's at maybe the end of my last video, about kind of my summer stitching plans. The summer is very hard for me. I suffer from seasonal affective disorder in the summertime, and I'm just trying to find any way to bring some joy into my life in the summertime. So I went through my phone and I organized. My digital patterns were a mess on my phone. So I went through one day and I organized them into folders. I turned off the fan so there would be less background noise, but I feel like there's been a lot of vehicle noise out there today. I live right down the hill from an ambulance corps, so I don't always even hear the sirens, but that one was loud. So anyways, organized my digital patterns, made myself a folder called Summer, and then I made a wheel with all of those projects on there, and I'm just going to work through some of those projects this summer. I'm gonna work on them until I don't want to, or until I finish them, and then spin the wheel and move on to the next. And that has been really fun. So I've got 2 projects here to show from that, and this first one is like I said, something that I finished. This project lived in this cute little, again with that Maryland fabric. That's the 3rd time you've seen that today. This is from my friend Nikki. This was part of the Smalls exchange that we did with my stitching group. Love that. So this project is called Audiobook Lover by Abby X Stitch. I'll put the picture of the cover up right here. I am an audiobook lover. That is the only way really that I read anything. I think I've read 45 books so far this year. My goal is 60, so I think that I'm well on the way. I just had like every one of my holds come in on Libby at once, which I feel like is the way that goes. I've got like 5 books checked out right now, so I gotta get cracking on some of those. Anyways, I stitched this pattern in all of the called for DMCs, which were bright and happy, and I stitched on a piece of 28 count mystery linen from my stash. And here is the finish. Isn't that cute? I think that's adorable. This was super fun, super quick. I started using Markup RXP again. I had purchased it, I don't know, a long time ago, and then I never really used it because I don't really like stitching from my phone, but I'm not necessarily trying to print all of these patterns out, and I've actually enjoyed it more than I used to, so that's been fun. I'm not very good at using it. I probably need to ask my friend Heather, who's like a guru, about it. Anyways, here's Audiobook Lover. Fun. Let's see, the next project I have here was my lunchtime stitching. So during the summer, when my schedule changes, our lunch break goes from an hour to an hour and a half. That's the way that the unions have negotiated our time. So this was the project that I took for that first week of our new schedule, our summer schedule, but because of different events we had going on, it only got 2 days, so it didn't really get a whole lot of stitching. That's okay, it can come back out at any time, it's not going anywhere. That project is Mustard Flowers by Dessin DHC. This is a French pattern. Looks like this. This is beautiful, but it is, again, a challenge to stitch from. The chart is hand-drawn, so there are parts that I will again have to take pictures of and put it into GoodNotes and blow up to be able to stitch from. But that's okay because I think this is going to be stunning. Also, I usually just sit in my car for my lunch break and stitch. I eat and then I stitch, but I started going to a local library. It was that first week of our summer schedule, it was so hot. It was like 107, 109 every day, and I just could not sit in my car, even with the air going, and deal with that. So I started going to the library, and that has been really lovely. So I think I'm going to continue to do that many days over the next, I think there's 5 more weeks left of our schedule. So anyways, here is the pattern. It lives in this Blackbird bag. I'm stitching it on a piece of 36 count Sahara by, it's just a plain Zweigart linen in DMC 336, which is really a little darker in person. And here's where I got to. Oh, this is, if you are newer to this channel, I stitch my samplers in blue. I have a little blue sampler wall. I don't know what started, well, I guess I do know what project started the blue. Blue's not even necessarily my favorite color, but I love a blue sampler. I just think that, I don't know what it is. But here's where I got to. My goal was to get the border done. I got it outlined, at least. I had the top and one side already done, so I brought it across the bottom and up the other side. There was a little bit of a counting error, but I got it. We got it there. So next time I pull this out, I would probably like to finish the border, because, like I said, because this chart is a little challenging, I just like to I want to have these like anchor points in. But I think she's going to be a real stunner when she's done. Alright, up next we have Stitch for Pride. This is the 2025 Stitch for Pride. This is designed by Dee of Dee's 20 Stitches, and this is a stitch and learn along. Every month Dee provides us with a pattern based on this year a historical non-binary, trans, or gender non-conforming individual from history, and we learn about that person and then we stitch something to represent them. And every month has been amazing. I'm stitching all of mine individually so that I can make lots of little pillows out of them when they're done. And this month we learned about Mary Jones. So this is the bag that this project lives in. It's an elephant bag. Oh, hang on. Okay, I had taken a screenshot of a little blurb about Mary from the pattern that I wanted to share. It says, Mary Jones, a gender variant sex worker, lived in the mid-1800s in New York, where she worked at Green Street brothel as a domestic laborer. While not much is known about Jones's life, her court testimony about her life provides some of the earliest descriptions of gender variance in the Black community. Mary's story was very interesting, and her pattern was really pretty. So this was a piece of 36 count. This was definitely a seraphim fabric, but I can't think of what it was called. I stitched this in a combination of a Silks For You silk. All right, I added another light. Forgive the lighting. You know it's always a struggle here. Anyways, I stitched this pattern in a combination of this pretty silk, not white, light pink, and I also used one strand of blending filament to give it a little sparkle, which probably will not come across because, you know, it never does, but this was fun. This little bit of black work was fun. This one stitched up super quick, and I think it's adorable. So it was great learning about Mary and stitching her comb. Alright, this next project I have here is another finish. This was my Board of Ed stitch. I watch our local Board of Ed meetings. It's during the school year. It's typically every other Monday night. Right now we're out for the summer, so I think there's only one in July and one in August till we start back up in September, and then in September I will start a new Board of Ed project, but this is the one that I worked on for this past school year, and that is the MLK sampler by Stone Street Stitchworks. Looks like this. This project lives in yet another Maryland bag. My gosh, this fabric really got around. And I changed all of the colors. I stitched it in colors that kind of, this might be the worst yet, that kind of represented our school colors, our school system's colors. I stitched it on a piece of 40 count mallow? I could be making that up. Anyways, 40 count something. Here's my finish. Look how cute that turned out. This was a lot of fun. It was super nice to have something like this to look forward to. Those meetings can go really late. They can be 4 or 5 hours sometimes, so having this to think about was just really, really lovely. This will go up, what am I saying? This will go to my desk at work. I'm going to frame it and put it up at my desk. So that was fun. I already have next year's project picked out, of Lindy stitches that I need to get kitted up, I guess. I'm sure the new school year will be here before we know it. Alright, next is another older work in progress, and this one is now finished, and this one, if you remember, had given me fits. This is Poe the Raven by the Witchy Stitcher, which look like this. This project had several trials and tribulations. Hold on, I'll show you the finish. This lived in this cute little mousy pumpkin bag. Stitched again in the Moselle black silk, which needs to now go with the rest of it. I stitched it on dark spell linen. This is by the Primitive Hair. And if you don't know, this comes in 2 cuts. It comes in a large and a small. So when I first started this project, I had the small cut, and I didn't realize that it called for the large cut, so I decided I would stitch it over 1, which I did. And here is the finish of that. But And I've asked for suggestions before about what to do with this now, because stitching it over one, you really don't get all of the beautiful spooky trees from the outside. And everybody had given me some great suggestions, so I'm still not sure where this one's going to go. So that was the first trial, and then the second problem that I discovered last time I worked on it was that I had miscounted this area here in between, and when I went and stitched in the word unbroken, it didn't fit. And so I had said that well, after I ripped it out, I said that I had identified on the pattern a way to fix that and make it fit, so the next time I worked on it, I should be able just to boop, 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 stitch it in. And the note that I had left for myself said this did not fit. So, not great. So I had to take some time that first night that I pulled it out, and I counted out where that needed to be. This had to be adjusted. This had to be adjusted, but it's done now. Thank goodness. And then it only took 3 days. 1 night of planning and 2 nights of stitching, and it was done. So I'm really glad to have this one off of my list. No fault of the pattern whatsoever. That was all me. All me screwing that up. All right, I've got 2 more projects here to share with you. This next one was my lunchtime stitching last week, and this is Apple and Sage by Hands On Design. This was part of the French Country Kitchen, or the French Kitchen Club. I was part of that. Is that in 2020? I think I got these in 2020. I've stitched the other 3. This is the last one that I have. I started it last fall, and I wanted to get a couple more stitches into it so that I can hopefully finish it up this fall. I'm using, it came as a kit. I'm using all of the called for everything that goes with that kit. This is being stitched on a piece of 32 count milk chocolate by hand dyed by Stephanie. She did all of the fabrics for this club, and here's where I'm at. This was so much fun. So much fun that even when I had given it the few days at lunch, I was not ready to be done with it yet, so I took it with me up to New York and continued to give it like 30 minutes a day. I've got one more section to go for this top page, and then I can get going on the bottom. Hopefully this will be a finish later this year. I don't know what it was. This was just very comforting and a lot of fun. I'll be happy to have this series finished, but my kitchen is definitely not French inspired. It's kind of like a 60s, 70s mushroom vibe in there. So I don't know. We'll see where these will go. But it was good, and I love this fabric. This fabric is very kind of nostalgic to me. This was one of the first hand-dyed, this particular, not this piece, but this fabric, milk chocolate by hand-dyed by Stephanie, was one of the first like hand-dyed fabrics that I ever used when I kind of started my stitching journey, and it was also the fabric that taught me that hand-dyed fabrics do not always come out the same. Hang on, I'll show you. I said I was going to be quick, and now I'm going down all these side trails. But anyways, this was the first piece of milk chocolate that I got. I'm sure that I purchased this at Needlecraft Corner. This is a pattern by Filigram. I think it's called Moonlight. Both of these could actually probably be reframed. So you can see this is a nice, pretty light color. This was a big deal because this was maybe the first time I have changed a floss color myself. I remember this red was from Color and Cotton, Oxblood, and I was very nervous about not having enough of that. I'm trying to think. Oh, the dust on this is pretty. You guys don't mind the dust. But when did I stitch this? 2017, 2018, maybe. I don't remember. Many years ago. So I stitched this, and I was so excited. I loved it so much. And this is a pretty light piece. they kind of look similar. This one's definitely a little bit darker. So I had another pattern by Filigram that I wanted to use the exact same colors in, and I ordered a piece from Stephanie, and I waited, and then it finally came, and I was so excited, and it was in fact much darker. So this is that piece. This definitely, look, it's like barely in this frame. I recently got a point driver, so that should definitely help the situation. This is dark blue. Yeah, so anyways, so this was the piece that came in, and this is another Filigram. I think this is called In My Garden There Is, which I loved. I used all the same exact colors, and as you can see, hopefully the fabrics are pretty different. So anyways, I still love this fabric. I love both of these projects. Now that they're down, maybe I'll give them some attention. But yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to share. All right, and the last project I have here to share with you today will come with a warning. I do try to give spider warnings. I have a sister that cannot see spiders or does not like spiders, and so I'm always trying to be very cognizant of people that don't love them the way that I do. But this is the next piece that I spun for my summer stitching extravaganza, and that is Wasp Spider. And this is by Happy Little Mouse. Looks like this. This project is living in this little bag here, and I'm stitching it with all of the called for DMCs. Still in its Q-snap. This is another piece of Witch's Garden Crafts 18 count Ada in the color Antique Daguerreotype. And here's where I am. I have not been able to put this down. I don't know what it is about this pattern that has got me in a little bit of a chokehold, but this has been so much fun to stitch. I think I'm almost 50% done. I've got started on the bottom two legs. There's another one of these branches over here, and two more branches and some mushrooms at the bottom. So that is coming along great. I really love that. So anyways, that is what I have stitched on in June. And some of those have gotten some work in July too, obviously, but yeah, June was a big stitching month for me. So just a little bit about plans. I've got my projects pulled out to work on for the month. I'm going to try to start on some ornaments. I normally do ornaments for my coworkers, so I might try to get those started this month. Stephanie from Cross Stitch the Globe, her birthday is this month, and she does a Hello from Liz Matthews birthday start, so I pulled out Get Me Not by Liz Matthews to start for her birthday. I'm excited about that. Midsummer Stitch is not this coming weekend, next weekend. So I've got my ticket for that. My level of participation will definitely be based on how bearable the weather is. Like I've said, we only have the air in the bedrooms, and that's not a good place for me to set up to chat with people. So we'll just see what I can muster up. I remember last year it worked out that weekend it was like not a billion degrees, so it had worked out okay. So fingers crossed for a little break in the heat. But other than that, I'm just keeping on. I've got a couple things here that have come in the mail to share with you. The first thing is my Color and Cotton Fabric of the Month. I get 36 count, and this is Hearthstone. This is a beautiful blue-gray, some floss on it. I am in another Fabric of the Month club, also for 36 count. This is through my LNS Needlecraft Corner. They did a Picture This Plus / Blackbird collab Fabric of the Month this year. So it's Picture This Plus fabrics that are often used in Blackbird design projects. And this month I got a piece of vellum. piece. This is definitely adding some good large pieces of fabric to my collection, which has been great. I look forward to that every month. That'll end in December. Speaking of LNSs, I also had a little bit of an impromptu trip to the Stitching Post out in Catonsville with a few of my friends, and I went there to look for a mill hill for an ornament, again for a coworker, and I did not end up, well, I had several different ones in my hands, and then I ended up not getting anything that I intended. So this is what I did get. This is The Birdman Cometh by Little Robin Designs. I have long loved this pattern. I have some great 40 count red from Color and Cotton that I've had for years and years, that I had started one project on and decided I didn't want to continue with that, so I think I'm going to pull that out for this. It's so weird. I just love it so much. I got Blue Jay and Persimmons by Arth Design. This is her number 6 of her Chesapeake Bay Treasure series, which looks like this. I have stitched 4 of them. I have the other kit upstairs. She didn't do kits for these this year. I think it's Seahorses is the one that I have to do yet. And then this one, which is really pretty. I got a piece of wool that I have used to make a needlebook with, which I will show you in my next episode, so that's already cut up. I got a Twilight Moon by Tiny Modernist, which looks like this. I did not get the Threadworks, but I might end up ordering them because that just looks great. And then I got a piece of 32 count Sapphire Linen by Fiber on a Whim, which is gorgeous. I believe this is what Liz Matthews' Strawberry Moon called for. I wish you guys could see how vibrant this is in person. It's so pretty. It's more like that color there. But I'm not sure what'll go on this, but I'm always looking for some good blue fabric. I joined Top Knot Stitchers auto ship for the new Cottage Garden You're in the Woods #2, and so the wolf came in. It's like this. I think the next one that came out is a sugar glider. Erin has a cousin that had sugar gliders. This wolf is beautiful. From Michelle at Cozy Egg, I ordered her latest reproduction. This is called Summer's Last Crown, Henrietta Peaver. I'll put a picture in right here. I wanted to print this last night and I was having an issue. I don't know. It was my problem, definitely. So I gotta probably reach out to her and get some help for that. It was so much fun watching her stitch this and this one come together, and then when she put the quote that she did, it was like auto buy immediately. Like, get it to me. She's huge too, but she's really, really pretty. I also bought from Una Buena Piazza. She did a Enchanted Berries series, and so she had a chart pack where you could get all 4. I only printed this one because that took up a lot of ink, but it's berry jars with ghosts in them. Amazing. So this is strawberry, and then there's also blueberry, blackberry, and raspberry. Those are adorable. From eBay, so there was this product listed on Facebook Marketplace, and it was a plastic canvas toilet paper holder and tissue box with geese on it. And the woman lived just a few miles away from me. I actually passed by where she lives every day on my way home from work, and I was super excited about it. And so I asked if it was available, and it was, and we had like gone back and forth trying to pick a date, and then she just like disappeared on me. So I was disappointed, and then I became a little bit obsessed with that pattern, and so I ended up finding it. So this is Canadian Geese in Plastic Canvas by Dick Martin. So it was this pattern here, but stitched in around to go around a roll of toilet paper, and I really, really want to make that for my bathroom upstairs. I'm like kind of, my style has definitely been changing, and right now that bathroom is like black and white and gray and yellow, and it, you know, we change. So I got this so that I could try to make it, and then I did get a little bit overwhelmed by trying to figure out like what yarn you need. I don't know. I think I need somebody with some experience in this to help me get this kitted up and get started. And then because I was looking at plastic canvas, I also found this pattern. This is 4 Seasons in plastic canvas. It's got 32 designs in it, also by Rick Martin, which looks like this. There's some really cute stuff in here. I mean, I don't know if I need this light switch cover, but maybe. You never know. Those are super fun. So that's everything that came in the mail. I've got one more thing to share with you, but I gotta move a cat off of it, so I'll be right back. Alright, so the last thing I wanted to share with you was this, another Facebook Marketplace find, which is not strictly cross-stitch related, but is sewing related, and I just think it's so cool. This is a sewing case. You can see it's pretty big, and I love this retro fabric on it. And you open it up. I can do this on my lap and show you. This right here is where you put your spools of thread, and there are tons of pockets and all kinds of cool stuff in there. I'll bring it in close so I can show you the fabric. Look how amazing that is. Love it. Love this. So that is an interesting part to my collection, and I just have to figure out where I'm going to put it. And then what was really cool was this woman who was so kind that was selling that. She loved it too, but she just, again, didn't have any place to put it. I clicked on her name just to see what else she had on there, and she had this print. And I've been looking for this print for years. This right here, it's called Memories. We had this in a bigger version hanging above our couch in our living room growing up. And I grew up with my grandparents in their house, and I have thought about this print and wanted this for a long time, but I never knew what it was called or any information about it, or even like how to search for it. When I sent my sisters a picture, we all remember thinking that was our pop-up and thinking that the little blonde girl in this was my sister Emily. Obviously no, but we all had the same memory, which I thought was pretty funny. So she also had this, and I was able to pick it up too, and that made me super happy. All about finding joy where we can, right? Okay, so this ended up being a little longer, I think, than I had intended, but that's okay. It's been great to spend some time with all of you today. I hope everybody is doing the best that they can and are getting through however you do. So, all right, everybody. We'll talk soon. Love you. Bye.